Welcome, dear listener, to this gentle space of calm and quiet, where the noise of the day slowly fades and the soft rhythm of rest begins to guide you inward. Tonight, you are invited to drift into a peaceful journey, a journey that unfolds not in haste but in patience, not in noise but in silence, as we explore the life of a cherry blossom tree. A life that mirrors our own breaths, our own seasons, and our own quiet becoming. So allow your body to relax. Let your shoulders soften, your jaw loosen, and your thoughts slow like falling petals, knowing that there is nothing you need to do. Know where you need to go, and know when you need to be except here. Listening, resting, and gently letting go, long before the cherry blossom ever reached for the sky, before it held flowers or felt the warmth of spring sunlight. It existed as something very small, a seed resting deep within the dark and patient earth, cradled by soil that was cool, silent, and full of unseen life. And in that darkness, the seed did not rush or question its purpose. It simply rested, trusting the stillness, trusting the quiet, trusting time itself. And as you listen now, you too may imagine yourself as that seed, held safely by the night, supported by the unseen ground beneath you. The earth around the seed was calm and unhurried, layered with soft soil, fallen leaves, and the memory of countless seasons before. Rain seeped slowly downward, carrying nourishment, while roots from older trees whispered stories of endurance and change. And though the seed could not yet see the sky, it felt the gentle pull of life. A subtle invitation to grow when the time was right. Days passed, then weeks, and the world above the soil shifted from sun to rain to wind. Yet below the surface, everything remained quiet and warm. The seed absorbing moisture, softening its shell, learning the art of patience. And this is where the life of the cherry blossom truly began. Not in bloom, but in waiting. A lesson so often forgotten, yet deeply necessary. As seasons turned, the cold of winter settled in, and frost kissed the surface of the ground. But the seed slept peacefully, protected by the earth's embrace, knowing instinctively that rest was not an ending but preparation. And in this rest there was strength, in this pause there was wisdom. For even now, while you rest and listen, something within you is also quietly gathering energy, healing, and renewing. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, warmth returned, snow melted, and the soil softened, and deep underground, the seed sensed the change, responding not with urgency but with gentle curiosity, and a tiny root emerged, stretching downward first, anchoring itself firmly, finding stability before growth, understanding that to rise gracefully, one must first be grounded deeply. And this root drank from the earth, drawing nourishment and reassurance, while above it, a delicate shoot prepared to rise. One morning, beneath a sky painted with pale spring light, the shoot pushed upward, breaking through the soil for the very first time, meeting air, light, and the wide openness of the world. And though fragile and small, it carried within it the memory of the darkness that shaped it, the patience that strengthened it, and the promise of beauty yet to come. The young young sapling trembled gently in the breeze, learning the language of wind, sunlight warming its tender leaves, rain washing it clean, and each day it grew just a little, not to impress, not to hurry, but because growth was its nature. Birds passed overhead, clouds drifted slowly by, and the sapling listened, absorbing the rhythms of the world, discovering that life was not a race but a flow, a sequence of moments unfolding exactly as they should. And as night fell, stars appeared above, and the sapling rested once more, roots deep, leaves still, heart steady, trusting that tomorrow would come when it was ready. Just as sleep comes to you now, gently, naturally, without effort, as the first chapter of this life settles softly into your awareness, preparing you for the seasons yet to unfold.
Listening to the whispers of spring and the deeper call of becoming, the young cherry blossom now stood beneath the widening sky. And this was the season where growth learned patience, where strength learned softness, and where time revealed itself not as an enemy, but as a gentle teacher. Because as the days passed, the sapling did not suddenly become a tree. It grew slowly, almost invisibly, adding a breath of height here, a deeper root there, learning how to drink sunlight through its leaves and how to draw wisdom from the soil beneath. And in this steady rhythm, the cherry blossom discovered that nothing meaningful arrives all at once. Spring unfolded like a quiet promise, warm mornings followed by cool evenings. And the sapling felt the sun trace its path across the sky each day, light filtering through young leaves, feeding the tiny green cells that worked silently to turn light into life. And when clouds gathered and rain fell, the sapling welcomed it without fear, knowing rain was not interruption but nourishment. And with each rainfall, the roots stretched further, weaving themselves into the earth like fingers holding gently onto truth. Around the sapling, the world became fuller. Grasses grew taller, insects hummed softly, and neighboring plants leaned and shifted, all sharing space without competition. And the cherry blossom learned an important lesson simply by standing still. That growth does not require comparison, only consistency. And as you listen now, breathing slowly, you may sense the same permission within yourself to grow at your own pace, without urgency, without judgment. As spring matured, the sapling faced its first strong wind, a sudden rush of air that bent its thin trunk and shook its leaves, and for a moment it trembled, uncertain, but the roots held firm, anchoring it to the ground. And though the wind tested its flexibility, it did not break. Instead, it learned to sway, to move with pressure rather than against it, discovering resilience not as resistance, but as cooperation. And this lesson settled deep within its fibers, becoming part of its strength. Days turned into weeks, and the sapling thickened slightly, its bark forming a tender outer layer, protecting what grew inside, and tiny buds began to appear. Not flowers yet, but promises, small signs of what the future held. And the sapling did not rush these buds open. It trusted the rhythm of warmth and light, understanding instinctively that forcing bloom too early would only bring harm. Summer arrived quietly, bringing longer days and richer sunlight. and the sapling now stood a little taller, casting a faint shadow on the ground, a shadow that moved slowly with the sun, reminding it that time was always flowing even when everything felt still. And during the hottest afternoons, when the air shimmered and the soil dried, the sapling learned endurance, drawing deeply from the water stored below, conserving energy, resting when needed, and growing when conditions allowed. At night, the world cooled, stars appeared, and the sapling rested, leaves still, listening to crickets and distant owls, absorbing the calm of darkness. And in these quiet hours, growth continued invisibly, cells dividing, fibers strengthening, life unfolding beyond sight. And this unseen progress mirrored the kind of growth that happens within you as you sleep, subtle yet profound. As summer slowly leaned toward its end, the sapling noticed changes again. Light softened, evenings cooled sooner, and the air carried a hint of something new. And the cherry blossom, though still young, sensed the turning of the season, understanding that change was not loss, but transition. And with this awareness, its leaves deepened in color, its trunk firmed, and its roots expanded even further, preparing not out of fear, but out of wisdom. One afternoon, a gentle breeze carried fallen petals from a distant, older cherry tree, and they drifted down, landing softly near the sapling's base, pale pink against the earth. And though the sapling could not yet bloom, it felt something awaken within, a quiet recognition, a knowing that one day it too would release beauty into the world, not to last forever, but to be fully present when the moment arrived. As autumn approached, the sapling stood calmly, having learned much in its brief life, that storms pass, that sunlight returns, that rest is as vital as growth, and that every stage holds meaning. And now, as leaves around it began to turn gold and amber, the cherry blossom prepared for another season of rest, not as an ending, but as continuation, as a deep breath before the next unfolding. And as this second chapter of its life settles gently into stillness, your own body may feel heavier, calmer, more at ease, ready to drift deeper into rest, carried by the quiet wisdom of steady growth and gentle time. Carried by the quiet wisdom of steady growth and gentle time. The cherry blossom now entered a deeper chapter of its life, a chapter shaped by endurance, maturity, and the subtle strengthening that comes not from sudden change, but from many small moments layered softly upon one another. And as autumn fully arrived, the world around the tree transformed into a tapestry of warm colors, gold, amber, and rust drifting through the air, leaves falling like slow thoughts returning to the earth. And the young cherry blossom watched without fear as its own leaves began to loosen their hold, understanding instinctively that letting go was part of staying alive. Each leaf that fell was not a loss, but a gift returned to the soil. A quiet offering that would one day nourish roots, and in this gentle exchange, the tree learned that life moves in cycles of giving and receiving, breathing in and breathing out, much like the slow rhythm of your own breath as you listen now, calm and unforced. As days shortened and nights grew longer, the cherry blossom slowed its outward growth, drawing energy inward, thickening its trunk, strengthening its core, and beneath the surface, its roots spread wider and deeper, forming an unseen network of support intertwining with stones, soil, and the quiet memories of rain. And this hidden expansion was perhaps the most important growth of all, because what is unseen often holds the greatest strength. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of earth and distant wood smoke, and frost began to appear in the early mornings, delicate and silver, resting briefly on the ground before melting away. And the cherry blossom felt this cold not as punishment, but as instruction, a signal to rest, to conserve, to trust the wisdom of stillness. And so it released the last of its leaves, standing bare beneath the open sky, exposed yet unafraid. Winter arrived slowly, wrapping the land in silence, snow falling gently, muffling sound, transforming familiar shapes into soft white forms, and the cherry blossoms stood quietly, branches reaching upward like calm gestures, each one holding the memory of leaves, buds, and sunlight. And though outwardly still, life continued within, sap moving slowly, cells resting and repairing, preparing for a future not yet visible. Storms came, winds howled, snow gathered on branches, bending them low. And in these moments, the cherry blossom was tested again, not by growth, but by weight, by pressure, by endurance, and it learned another quiet lesson. That strength is not always upright and proud. Sometimes strength is the ability to bend, to bow, to hold steady under heaviness without breaking. And each time the snow fell away and the branches lifted again, the tree felt a deeper confidence settle within its wood. Nights during winter were long and deeply quiet, stars sharp and bright against the dark sky, moonlight reflecting off snow, and the cherry blossom rested beneath this vastness, connected to the earth below and the sky above, existing fully in the present moment, not longing for spring, not fearing the cold, simply being. And this state of being mirrored the deepest kind of rest, the kind that heals without effort, that restores without striving. As winter slowly loosened its grip, subtle changes began to stir. Daylight lingered a little longer. Snow melted into gentle streams, soil softened once more, and deep within the cherry blossom, something awakened, not suddenly, but gradually, like a quiet smile forming before it is seen, and tiny buds began to swell along the bare branches, protected by delicate shells, holding within them the promise of bloom. The tree did not rush this awakening. It trusted the balance of warmth and cold, rain and sun, and each day the buds grew fuller, heavier with life, and the cherry blossom stood patiently, having learned through seasons that timing is everything. That beauty arrives not through force, but through alignment. One morning, under a pale sky washed with early spring light, the first bud opened, revealing soft pink petals, fragile yet luminous. And this moment was not loud or dramatic. It was gentle, almost shy, a quiet unfolding that transformed the entire tree. And soon more buds followed, blossoms opening one by one, until the cherry blossom stood adorned in clouds of pale pink, petals catching sunlight, glowing softly against the blue sky. Bees arrived, drawn by scent and color. Birds perched among the branches, and the air seemed lighter, filled with movement and life. And the cherry blossom, now in full bloom, did not cling to this beauty. It offered it freely, knowing that blossoms are not meant to last forever. They are meant to be experienced fully in the moment. And this understanding brought a deep, peaceful joy to the tree, a fulfillment that required no audience, no praise, only presence. As petals eventually loosened and drifted downward like soft snowfall, the cherry blossom remained calm, grateful, grounded, knowing that this too was part of the cycle. And as this third chapter of its life settles into gentle awareness, your body may feel even heavier, your thoughts slower, your breath deeper. As you rest within the quiet truth that everything unfolds exactly as it should, in its own perfect time. As you rest within the quiet truth that everything unfolds exactly as it should, in its own perfect time, the cherry blossom continued its journey beyond the moment of bloom, entering a season where wisdom deepened and presence became its greatest gift. And after the petals fell and settled softly upon the earth, returning beauty back to the soil, the tree stood calmly, no longer adorned with blossoms yet fuller than ever before. For within its branches now formed small green leaves, fresh and tender, catching sunlight and transforming it once more into life. Spring moved gently into early summer, and the cherry blossom, now stronger and more established, expanded its canopy, leaves unfurling like quiet breaths, offering shade to the ground below. And beneath its branches insects rested, birds nested, and small creatures found comfort. And in this way the tree learned that growth was no longer only about itself. It was now about offering, about holding space, about becoming part of something larger. Each morning sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating patterns of light and shadow that shifted slowly across the ground. And the cherry blossom stood steady, roots deep, trunk firm, branches open. And though storms still came and winds still tested its flexibility, the tree met them with calm assurance, having learned through many seasons that nothing lasts forever. Not the storm, not the calm, only the steady rhythm of change itself. Summer days grew warm and full, air humming with life, cicadas singing their slow, endless song, and the cherry blossom absorbed this abundance without attachment. Leaves drinking light, sap flowing freely, and deep within, seeds began to form where blossoms once bloomed, small and green, nearly invisible, yet carrying the future quietly within them. During long afternoons, the tree rested beneath the sun, offering shade and silence, and passers-by slowed beneath its branches, drawn by something they could not name, a sense of peace, a feeling of being held. And the cherry blossom gave this freely, without effort, simply by being present, by standing where it stood. And this too is a lesson that echoes gently within you now, that sometimes the greatest gift you offer is your calm presence. As summer slowly leaned toward its peak, clouds gathered more often, rain falling in soft, steady rhythms, washing dust from leaves, nourishing soil. And the cherry blossom welcomed each rainfall as it had always done, lifting its leaves slightly, allowing water to move through. Understanding that cleansing is as essential as growth, and when thunder rolled in the distance, the tree remained grounded, trusting the earth to hold it steady. With time, the seeds matured, small cherries forming briefly before falling, returning once more to the ground, and the cherry blossom felt a quiet satisfaction, not pride, but completion, knowing it had participated fully in the cycle of life, offering beauty, shelter, nourishment, and possibility. And though it did not watch where each seed landed, it trusted that life would continue in its own way, beyond its branches, beyond its sight. Late summer arrived with golden light and slower evenings, and the cherry blossom noticed subtle changes again. Leaves deepening in color, air cooling at night. And rather than resisting this shift, the tree welcomed it, having learned that every transition carries wisdom. And so it slowly reduced its outward activity, drawing energy inward, preparing once more for rest. As autumn approached, the tree stood full and grounded, leaves beginning their quiet transformation. And when the first leaf finally fell, drifting gently to the ground, the cherry blossom felt no sorrow, only understanding, a deep acceptance that everything it had become was held not in its leaves or branches, but in the steady strength of its being. And as this fourth chapter settles into stillness, your own body may feel deeply relaxed, your breath slow, and even your thoughts soft and distant. As you rest within the gentle truth that life moves in cycles, that giving and resting are equally sacred, and that you, like the cherry blossom, are allowed to simply be, right here, right now. And as you rest within the gentle truth that giving and resting are equally sacred, the cherry blossom moved into another quiet season of its life, a season not marked by dramatic change, but by deepening awareness, where time no longer felt like something passing by, but something flowing gently through every ring of its trunk. And autumn now fully arrived, painting the landscape in warm tones of copper and gold, leaves drifting slowly through the air like unhurried thoughts, each one carrying the memory of sunlight it once held. The cherry blossom felt the coolness settle into the mornings, dew resting softly on its leaves, and with each breath of wind, it released what it no longer needed, not all at once, but gradually, leaf by leaf, allowing the process of letting go to be gentle and kind. And in this surrender, there was no sadness, only clarity, a quiet understanding that release makes space for renewal. Beneath the surface, roots continued their steady work, drawing nutrients from the soil enriched by fallen leaves, absorbing the wisdom of decay and transformation, learning that what appears to end is often only changing form. And this unseen exchange nourished the tree deeply, strengthening it for seasons yet to come. Days grew shorter, shadows longer, and the cherry blossom stood calmly as the sun traced lower arcs across the sky. Light softer now, less intense, more forgiving, and the tree absorbed this light with gratitude, knowing instinctively that abundance shifts but never truly disappears. Autumn rains returned, slower and steadier, soaking the ground, and the cherry blossom welcomed them as familiar companions, water moving through bark and root, carrying away dust, carrying inward nourishment. And each rainfall felt like a quiet conversation between sky and earth, with the tree standing gently in between, listening. As the last leaves fell, the cherry blossoms stood bare once more, branches open to the sky, no longer hiding behind color or movement, simply present. And in this bareness, there was a profound beauty, a kind of honesty that required no decoration, and the tree felt complete exactly as it was. Winter approached again, not as something unknown, but as an old teacher returning, bringing lessons of stillness, patience, and trust. And the cherry blossom prepared without fear, drawing energy inward, slowing its inner rhythms, resting deeply within itself. Snow fell softly, blanketing the ground in silence, and the tree stood quietly, its dark branches etched against the pale sky. Breath of the world slowed, sounds softened, and beneath the snow, life rested, waiting. And the cherry blossom felt connected to this deep rest, understanding that nothing was being lost, everything was simply sleeping. Storms came and passed, winds pressed against the tree, testing its balance, and with each challenge, the cherry blossom responded not with struggle, but with quiet steadiness, roots holding firm, branches yielding just enough. And this balance between strength and softness had become its nature, shaped by years of listening to the seasons rather than resisting them. Long winter nights stretched beneath star-filled skies, moonlight glinting off snow. And the cherry blossom stood as it always had, rooted, present, aware, feeling time not as hours or days, but as a slow, gentle current. And in this awareness, there was peace. A peace that did not depend on bloom or leaf or color, but on simply being alive. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, winter loosened its hold once more, light returning, snow melting into quiet streams, soil softening beneath the surface, and deep within the cherry blossom, a familiar stirring began. Not excitement, not urgency, but readiness. A calm recognition that another cycle was beginning. Buds formed again along the branches, small and patient, holding within them the memory of past blooms and the promise of future ones. And the cherry blossom greeted this moment not with anticipation, but with trust, knowing now that every bloom would arrive when it was meant to, and every petal would fall when its time was complete. And as this 5th chapter settles gently into stillness, your body may feel deeply at ease, your breath slow and effortless, your thoughts drifting like leaves returning to the earth. As you rest in the understanding that life is not something to hurry through, but something to move with, season by season, moment by moment, carried always by the quiet strength of being. And as the quiet strength of trust carries everything gently forward, the life of the cherry blossom arrives at its final chapter, not as an ending, but as a soft resting place where all seasons come together into one peaceful breath. And the tree now stands mature and wise, Having lived through countless cycles of bloom and release, storm and stillness, light and dark, and in its presence there is a deep calm that does not need to explain itself. It simply exists. The cherry blossom no longer measures time by years or seasons. It feels time as a gentle flow moving through its roots and branches, a rhythm as natural as breathing, and each moment is complete within itself. Spring still comes, and blossoms still appear, pale pink clouds opening beneath blue skies. Bees still hum softly, petals still fall like whispered prayers. Yet the tree holds these moments lightly now, enjoying them fully without clinging, knowing that beauty is most profound when it is allowed to pass. Summer still arrives with warmth and fullness, leaves shimmering in sunlight, shade offered freely to those who rest beneath its branches, birds returning year after year to nest, insects tracing familiar paths through the air, and the cherry blossom offers all of this without effort, simply by standing where it stands, rooted, present, alive. Autumn still paints the world in gold and amber. Leaves still drift gently to the ground, and the tree releases them without hesitation, each one a quiet thank you to the sun. And winter still wraps the land in silence, snow resting on branches, stars shining above long quiet nights, and the cherry blossom rests deeply, trusting the earth to hold it as it always has. And within this cycle, the tree has learned the deepest lesson of all, that nothing is ever truly separate, that the seed, the sapling, the bloom, the falling petal, the bare branch, and the sleeping root are all expressions of the same life, moving in different ways. And as you listen now, perhaps you can feel this truth within yourself as well, that every part of you belongs, every season of your life has meaning, and rest is not something to earn, but something to allow. The cherry blossom stands quietly in the moonlight now, petals from the last bloom resting on the ground like soft memories, music of the night surrounding it, wind moving gently through branches. And there is nothing left to do, nowhere left to grow toward, only this moment, complete and whole. And as the tree remains still, offering its calm to the world, you too are invited to settle fully into rest, to let your body grow heavy, your breath slow and deepen, your thoughts drift away like petals carried by a gentle breeze, knowing that you are safe, supported, and exactly where you need to be. The story of the cherry blossom does not end here, because it continues in every breath, every rest, every quiet moment where life unfolds without effort. And as the music softly surrounds you, let yourself sink deeper into sleep, carrying with you the peaceful wisdom of seasons passing gently, of beauty appearing and fading without loss, of life flowing perfectly as it is. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing this quiet journey. Now allow the music to guide you into a perfect, restful sleep, where dreams bloom softly and the night holds you with kindness.